You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats in a very early morning class, you're considering getting on the mats, or maybe taking your child to train later on today. I'm so happy you're here listening to this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to see, hear and feel your whole family have fun, learn and grow, start training jiu-jitsu. Now, I have been training for nearly a year now, and it's been a fantastic journey, and I do really love Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I was training last night, and there were a number of new teammates joining for the very first time, and of course promoting this podcast to them and getting them to, or encouraging them to listen and start to understand the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu journey. But they didn't know anything about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and they were kind of asking for advice and, you know, what to expect. And actually, I was saying, it's really great to not know what to expect when you first start training jiu-jitsu, because it's that unexpected. I think if you knew what was involved, you might not train. Okay, it's not that scary. There are injuries. Anyway, by the by, they enjoyed their first session. Likewise, I did my very first session. And my children both had their training sessions, and we all started at the same time around about a year ago. So in the kids class, the juniors class, and then me training the adult class. Now, also last night, I wanted to put a shout out on my socials because I trained, I don't always have the opportunity to train the advanced class, but last night I did. And I wanted to put out a post that said, tell me you train in an advanced class without telling me you've trained in an advanced class. My whole body ached last night, or at least I could feel every part of my body and was very, very conscious of it. It wasn't a particularly hard class. Well, maybe it was, but you really start to feel the difference in your physical kind of body and the development. And you know you've been through the mill. I think probably last week when I trained, I felt like I'd been really roughed up. My hair was a mess, and I just felt like I'd gone through the mill. Last night was a bit more head crushing and a few kind of, triangles and all sorts of other things. But what I want to say is that, starting training jiu-jitsu has just been the best thing for all of us. Both my children now have progressed. They're on their second belts in this time with a number of stripes on them. And you know what? They are so proud and are so happy when they talk about training jiu-jitsu and their progression and kind of promotions. It really does fill my heart with joy to see them happy and having fun. We do all sorts of other activities outside of jiu-jitsu life, but there's something really quite special about all three of us training. And at the top of the show, I said, see, hear and feel your whole family have fun and kind of learn and grow. I often hear them in the back room going, I know jiu-jitsu. No, I know jiu-jitsu. Anyway, that's kind of that. So we've been training for a year, as you know, and it just brings a sense of pride and joy to be part of a community. And as a mum in particular, seeing my children grow and develop, both of their confidences have just gone through the roof. They're a lot more self-assured in a very quiet way. Jiu-jitsu feels like it's not like any other sport. And I'm sure any of you could probably, have a discussion with me about that. But it's a very quiet, very calm, and considered sport. And it's always the quiet ones that you don't really expect to have the skills and abilities and resilience to continue training jiu-jitsu. And that really is the fun bit for me. Learning a skill that gives me improved strength and resilience. Certainly, I've mentioned before that my upper body strength has increased tenfold. Now, I spoke with James last week and, we talked about being maybe shorter team members and, having quite a strong half guard, which is where you're kind of trapping your opponent's leg between your legs and squeezing quite hard so they can't get out, and then underhooking them and sweeping them and such like. But, it's just a great sport. One of the great things for me is connecting with other women on the mats and just learning the skills and the balance and just being able to understand someone else's point of view and how they might train the particular move that we've been taught. Often it's a sequence of like 3 or 4 different components to one move. And often, I personally usually manage like 3 of them. And then there's one little bit that I've missed. But drilling a move time and time again really embeds that move within your mindset. At the beginning, I used to watch Instagram. I still do. I still follow a lot of the moves that are demonstrated on Instagram, the sweeps, and I can't even remember any of the other moves. I'm sure you'll all have lots of different thoughts in your mind, and you go, okay, maybe I can train this move on the mats. But actually, one of the things about jiu-jitsu is that you learn in that moment from the professor or coach that is training you, and you take the move step by step. And the real joy is drilling that move again and again and again with that same person. But you know what? When you train with another person, it becomes a whole different thing. So the benefit of being paired with different team members within your school when you're training is kind of one of the best things to learn your technique. Maybe they are less experienced than you. Maybe they're more experienced. And certainly if you're more experienced, then you learn a lot from them. But on the flip side of that, if you're training with someone that's not so experienced, it's really heartwarming to see how far you've come in your journey. And I think, rolling and playing, doing King of the Hill last night with a number of them, we all have our strengths, but coming to this sport with no knowledge at all of any other martial art is, I feel, the best way to approach jiu-jitsu. So like I was saying, as a jiu-jitsu mum, I have now a lot of mum friends where their children do train in the other classes, and just being able to share the struggles and the challenges on the mats, but equally making friendships that I really feel will be lifelong from other mums and other women that I meet on the mats. We're starting to build a really big community. So building this community is really good for certainly my well-being, maybe yours too, having a number of people in different areas of your life to speak to share the challenges. Maybe the kids are kind of, doing well at school, or maybe they're having a hard time, or maybe, you've got some work stuff, or maybe there's other conversations. Oh, I will just say though, parenting, goodness me, there is no manual. The other night after we trained, I'd cooked dinner, the kids wanted ice cream, and the freezer wasn't shut properly. So very late at night, because I was still working and doing various other things, I realised the freezer wasn't shut when I went to get some water from the fridge, and then had to completely chop the ice away from the freezer because it wouldn't shut. But I believe the training that I've I undertake within jiu-jitsu has just given me a calmness, even more of a calmness than I already had, in terms of being able to manage unusual, unexpected circumstances. All of these things in life and training jiu-jitsu prepare you for the unexpected. Now, maybe you've got some ideas and things in your mind that are unexpected. And because you train jiu-jitsu, you approach them in a very different way to how you might have before you started training. It just allows you to have an outlet, have time talking with other adults. Certainly if you're, a solo parent, it gives you the opportunity to really connect with a whole new family. And I think that's one of the real benefits for us, that this gives us a much broader family kind of base and support network that we wouldn't have had unless we started training jiu-jitsu. And I know Professor Joanna, she has 3 children, twin boys and a girl, and getting to know all of them, training with them, having a chat after class, and just the level of respect and understanding and networking and kind of meeting with other people is just the most fulfilling thing. But in terms of being a mum, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Taking children to train, I have to be very organized in terms of preparing dinner and water and snacks and the whole sequence of things, as well as stripping everyone down and getting them in the shower as soon as we get home. So all of our kit gets washed every single time after we train. So I have a very neat little schedule now that works incredibly well in terms of keeping our household washing and our training ability, kind of flowing. But it was really great last night. Also flow rolling with Coach Lewis. But flow rolling is where you drill or train moves flowing one to the other without the strength, without the force, without the, aggressive trying to keep someone in a move. But it just becomes a good way to train moves again and again. And often when you're training, you'll go from one move to the next move, and then suddenly you'll find you're back in the very first move you started, and then you'll just go around that same sequence. And for me, the win is about being able to take things slightly different directions so that you're not repeating that pattern over and over, because actually you've mastered that bit. And the kind of joy is shifting and trying something different. I know when I had the conversation with James last week, his win was very small in terms of, changing the moves or achieving a certain part of a move. But then also the mindset of what is the end goal? How can you take steps towards that? Where do you want to end up in 3 moves time? And what do you need to do now? This is the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. And today I'm talking about being a Jiu Jitsu mum and my journey so far. So I've very much tried to bring my fun and energy to our jiu-jitsu school. And I've arranged a social to try and get to know some of the other teammates during this time and build on the community, get to know, kind of everyone, because we all have a kind of, challenge, there are lots of life things going on. We turn up to class, we train class, and then, we're back off home, whether we're working the late shift and we're heading home to kind of get sorted out to go off to work, or whether you're going home to deal with the children, or whether you're going home to catch up with family members and friends or housemates. So I never expected at the start of this jiu-jitsu journey, nearly a year ago, to be 7 episodes through a new podcast show and to be the #1 jiu-jitsu podcast in the UK, as well as hitting the charts within the first 24 hours of launch. I love podcasting. I enjoy being able to share what I have to say, whether anyone listens or not. We never know. But, once you start on these things, it's like anything in life. Once you start and there's a flow and you've done a few kind of classes or a few episodes or something else in repetition, then you're in. The flow is already there. And actually there's no more challenge in the keeping going, because you've already established a routine. And I think that's the great thing with, me and my children training jiu-jitsu. We have a routine. So I've blocked out a couple of blocks in my week where we all train jiu-jitsu. And when we get in from the school run, we know that we're all going out to train jiu-jitsu. We get ready, get everything packed up and head out. So we have our routine blocked out in my diary every single week, and occasionally at the weekends as well. But being a mum, there are always different things and activities going on. So having that flexibility is good, but having that kind of set routine. So watch out for patches that will be available very, very soon, probably within the next week on jiu-jitsuloo.com. As well as the ability to be able to order a Jiu Jitsu Loo podcast t-shirt. Being a designer, I have a feeling that there may well be some new designs and various other things coming up. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel that you're listening or watching this on: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, without making Alexa start going. Anyway, thank you for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed this show. I look forward to having you listening again for the next episode. And in the meantime, it would really help me if you could rate, review, and download this episode. Thanks very much. Bye.